Spending $1,000, $10,000, or $20,000 on a cruise doesn't just upgrade your vacation, it creates three completely different realities at sea. I've done them all, and what surprised me most wasn't what got better, it was what didn't. Hey y'all, I'm Evan with Family at Sea, where we help make every cruise unforgettable. When most people compare cruise prices, they focus on the deals, but today we're flipping that around because I wanted to find out what really changes when you sail for $1,000, $10,000, or even $20,000. Because while those price points might share the same ocean, what you experience on board couldn't be more different. I've done all three, and while some upgrades are absolutely worth it, others come with compromises you wouldn't expect. Just a quick note before we dive in. Yes, you can get on a luxury cruise for less than 20 grand, but for this video, I'm talking about the higher end suites. The ones that come with private butlers, sprawling layouts, and amenities you just won't find in the entry-level rooms, like hot tubs on your balcony, full living rooms, and all the little touches that make it feel like a floating 5-star resort. This one might just change the way you look at cruising entirely. If you're ready, I am. Let's go. At the $1,000 price point, you're mostly looking at budget cruise lines like MSC, Carnival, and Margaritaville at Sea. These are often short 3 to 5 day sailings from Florida or Galveston with limited perks and a very no-frills experience. You're getting the bare minimum, a basic cabin, included dining, and access to the ship's main activities. And honestly, for the price, it's impressive how much fun you can still have. At $10,000, you're unlocking the premium suites on the big ships, specifically on what's referred to as a ship-in-a-ship program like MSC's Yacht Club, Norwegian's Haven, and Celebrity's Retreat. These experiences are designed to feel like a private resort inside the chaos of a megaship. You'll get a suite, private lounge, restaurant, pool deck, butler service, and priority everything. It's the best way to enjoy big ship energy without feeling overwhelmed by it. And then there's the $20,000 tier, where you enter the world of true luxury cruise lines like Explorer Journeys, Regent Seven Seas, or Silver Sea. These aren't private areas within a big ship, they are the entire ship. Fewer passengers, larger suites, and a completely different pace. Everything's elevated, from the food to the service to the quiet, refined atmosphere. Now, to be clear, there's definitely some overlap here. You can absolutely spend more than $20,000 for a top tier suite on a big ship, especially during peak season. And if you book early or snag a deal, you might get into a luxury sailing closer to $10,000. But with the demand rising fast, that window is closing, and these price ranges are a solid general guide. And when prices are swinging this much across different tiers and that overlap starts to blur, that's when how you book really starts to matter. Most people skip using a travel agent because they just assume it's just someone clicking buttons for them and tacking on a fee. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Good travel agents lock in group space long before most people are even thinking about booking, which means you can still score lower rates even after prices shoot up. And because they've got real relationships with the cruise lines, they get access to deals and perks you'll never see online. The best ones even pass those savings onto you instead of pocketing the kickbacks. But beyond the money, they save your sanity. Instead of calling some random 800 number and praying the rep knows the difference between the yacht club and retreat, you get a real person, someone who knows your ship, your trip, and can fix your problems before they ruin your vacation. That's why we always book through Cruises It. They've saved us thousands, unlocked perks we didn't even know we qualified for, and always make sure we don't end up like Frank, who booked a cruise to Alaska and packed for the Caribbean because, and I quote, "Cruises are supposed to be warm." Frank, that's not sunscreen, that's frostbite. With their low price guarantee and real humans who actually cruise, Cruises It makes booking simpler, cheaper, and way less stressful. So click the link in the description below or call the number on the screen and tell them Evan from Family at Sea sent you. You'll be glad you did. One of the biggest shifts as your cruise budget climbs is where you lay your head at night and how much the space shapes the rest of your experience. At the $1,000 level, you're getting the basics: an interior or ocean view room with just enough space to move around the bed. It's clean, functional, and fine for short sailings. Your room steward will do a great job keeping things tidy, but they're usually responsible for 20 to 30 rooms, so you're rarely going to see them and you won't get turn down service or many extra touches. It's bare bones, but for a lot of people, that's all they need. Move up to the $10,000 range, and now you're in the ship suites, the Haven, the Yacht Club, the Retreat, or some of the other newer options. And they're not going to be the biggest suites on board, but they come with larger bathrooms, sitting areas, a balcony you can actually stretch out on, and upgraded finishes throughout. You'll also notice the little things: turn down service at night, a room steward who only handles a fraction of the rooms compared to the lower tiers, and even a butler, though the quality of them seems to be very hit or miss, as they typically have 12 to 15 rooms they're serving at a time. At the $20,000 level, you're not just paying for square footage, you're paying for personalized attention. In our residence retreat on Explorer Journeys, we had a full living room, a private hot tub on the balcony, and even heated floors in the bathroom. But the real standout was our butler. On luxury lines like Explorer Journeys, butlers typically only serve 4 to 8 suites at a time compared to 12 to 15 on larger ships, which means the service is far more personalized, proactive, and memorable. Still, even with all of that, the best suite doesn't mean much if you don't actually use it. Some people book the cheapest room possible just to sleep there and spend the rest of the cruise living it up everywhere else. As your cruise budget climbs, the biggest difference isn't always the room, it's the way you're treated. At the $1,000 level, most of the crew you'll interact with are on the front lines. Bartenders, buffet attendants, and overworked guest services staff. They're friendly, professional, and they're doing their best, but they're stretched thin. If something goes wrong, you can expect to wait in a long line or on hold to fix it. You're just one of thousands of passengers, and the service reflects that. It's not bad, it's just built for scale, not personalization. At the $10,000 level, you enter a different lane entirely. Instead of standing in line at guest services, you've got a 24/7 concierge team who handles everything quickly and without the wait. You'll notice the difference in the private areas too. The bartenders in the suite lounge remember your name and your drink. The pool staff are constantly roaming and available to bring you your next drink or even food. It's still a big ship, but your little corner of it runs like a boutique hotel. And at the $20,000 level, the service you get in those private suite areas is now the standard across the entire ship. No lines or crowd control. Everyone on board is treated like a VIP, and the crew is trained to anticipate, not just react. Whether you're ordering a drink, asking a question, or needing a last minute change, you're never more than a step away from someone who already knows how to help. Food is a huge part of cruising, but how it's served, where it's served, and who it's meant to impress changes a lot depending on how much you're spending. At the $1,000 level, most of your meals are happening in the main dining room or buffets. These spaces are often loud, crowded, and fast paced. The menu is fixed, the service varies wildly, and the experience feels a bit like banquet service at a wedding. And if you want a nicer meal, you're likely paying extra for specialty dining, often with inconsistent quality and limited availability. At the $10,000 level, things begin to shift. You now have access to private, suite-only restaurants that most passengers never see. These venues are quieter, calmer, and the service feels far more personal. The menus are elevated, think filet mignon, lobster, or fresh pastas, but more importantly, the experience feels different. You're not just getting better food, you're being treated like someone whose time and preferences matter. It's the difference between eating in a cafeteria and dining in a private club. And at the $20,000 level, variety meets refinement. On luxury cruise lines like Explorer Journeys or Silver Sea, nearly every restaurant is included, and each one is treated like a standalone culinary experience. Menus are inventive, ingredients are top shelf, and nothing feels rushed. You're never handed a check, you're never asked to upgrade a dish, and the service is so dialed in that you start to forget this is even a cruise ship. It feels more like a food-focused boutique resort that just happens to float. The shows you see and the skill behind them can feel just as different as the rooms you're sleeping in. At the $1,000 level, you're usually on older ships from budget cruise lines, which means entertainment is a bit hit or miss. You might get a fun musical review or a decent comedy set, but these ships simply don't have the venues or production budget to compete with the newest megaships. The shows are fine, but they're not the main attraction. At the $10,000 level, that's when the curtain really goes up. These are often the newest, flashiest ships on the open seas. Think Royal Caribbean's Aqua Theater shows, full Broadway productions, ice skating performances, rotating headliners, and jaw-dropping tech. You're still seeing the same shows as everyone else on the ship, but you'll likely have access to reserved seating and a much smoother experience overall. And at the $20,000 level, the vibe shifts again. On smaller luxury ships, entertainment becomes more intimate with live jazz, acoustic sets, and small ensemble performances in lounges. It's elegant and relaxing, but not meant to dazzle. There's no high diving, no trapdoors, and no standing ovation at the end of a Broadway blockbuster. So while luxury wins in service and food, if you're chasing jaw-dropping spectacles and massive production value, the mid-tier megaships take the crown. You'd think spending more money on a cruise would get you better destinations, and sometimes it does, but not always. At the $1,000 level, you're likely sailing the greatest hits. Places like Nassau, Cozumel, maybe a private island if you're lucky. These itineraries are designed to appeal to the masses and turn ships around fast. The ports are easy to reach, built to handle thousands of people at once, and absolutely packed when multiple ships are in town. If it's your first time cruising, it'll feel exciting, but if you've been before, it's probably a bit more like deja vu. At the $10,000 level, you're often visiting the exact same ports. You're just doing it from a nicer suite. The destinations don't change, but the way you experience them might. You'll have access to expedited tenders, priority disembarkation, and in some cases, private areas on the line's private islands. It's a better version of the same trip, but it's still the same trip. And at the $20,000 level, that's where the map really opens up. Luxury cruise lines sail smaller ships that can reach ports the megaships can't. Quiet harbors, tucked away towns, and itineraries that feel curated rather than mass-produced. Instead of being herded off the ship with 5,000 other people, you might be one of only a few hundred stepping into a port that wasn't built for tourism. It just happens to be beautiful. So yes, the destinations may technically overlap, but the way you experience them, well, that's where the real difference shows up. You can learn a lot about a cruise by just walking around the ship. Not the food and not the service, just the feel of the space. And that vibe, it shifts dramatically depending on how much you paid. At the $1,000 level, the ships tend to be older, smaller, and louder. These are your fun factories with packed pool decks, data venues, and fewer quiet spaces to hide. It's chaotic, it's rowdy, and it's kind of the point. If you like energy, you'll find it in spades. At $10,000, the ship becomes the main attraction. These megaships are modern marvels. The design is thoughtful, the neighborhoods are distinct, and the wow factor is everywhere. But they're also huge, and with that comes a bit more effort to navigate and a lot more people to share space with. At $20,000, the entire ship is your sanctuary. You're not escaping the chaos, you're on a ship that never had any to begin with. From quiet lounges to uncrowded decks, the design isn't just beautiful, it's peaceful. And once you've had that kind of calm and quiet built into every space on board, well, it's hard to settle for anything less. But that's the beauty of cruising. There's something for everyone. Some of you are there for the party, and some just want the perks of a suite without giving up the big ship energy. And some of you want the whole ship to feel like a retreat. And in the end, the reality is there's no such thing as the perfect cruise, but understanding what you really value on board, well, that's the best upgrade of all. But here's the bad news. Even if you think you've figured out what kind of cruiser you are, the lines between premium and luxury are blurrier than ever. And the biggest mistake travelers make today is assuming a suite is a suite no matter what ship you're on. But the good news, there's a clear difference once you know what to look for, and I've got a video that breaks it all down. From the exclusive perks to the hidden drawbacks, I compare a true luxury cruise with a ship-in-a-ship suite experience side by side in a way that goes into a lot more depth than this video. So don't stop here, come hang out with me in the next one where I unpack the real difference between ultra luxury and mainstream cruise suites and help you figure out which one is worth it for you. If you're ready, I am. Let's go.